When I was a teenager in the 1970s, my parents had what were then the normal concerns: binge drinking, drunk driving, teen pregnancy, and smoking, both cigarettes and weed. But the main worries of today's parents about their teenagers, they're of a different sort: anxiety, depression, self-harm, suicide. These troubling statistics predate the pandemic and have only gotten worse since. In 2019, 13% of adolescents reported having a major depressive episode, up 60% from 2007. For people ages 10 to 24, the CDC estimates that suicide rates leapt nearly 60% from 2007 to 2018. And according to the mail-order pharmacy Express Scripts, from 2015 to 2019, prescriptions for antidepressants rose 38% for teenagers, compared with 15% for adults. These facts and more comprise the background for the first installment of Inner Pandemic, a New York Times series about adolescence titled "It's Life or Death: The Mental Health Crisis Among U.S. Teens." Joining me now is its author, Matt Richtel, a Pulitzer Prize-winning staff writer for the New York Times. For the series, he spent more than a year interviewing adolescents and their families. He's also written a book just out called Inspired: Understanding Creativity, A Journey Through Art, Science, and the Soul. Matt, as I said, my folks, they were most concerned about me coming home from a kegger. What's changed?
Right. Well, I guess my first question is, were they right to be concerned?
Yes.
Okay. So look, we've had a fundamental shift in the United States and looks like across Western countries in what ails young people. Public health worried about those external harms you mentioned before, and things have flipped, and they now worry about what they call these internalized risks: anxiety, depression, suicide, and self-harm. That's a monster public health story.
Is it that these things were always with us but went undiagnosed, or has there been some kind of a shift? And if so, caused by what?
I mean, it's a strange answer, but the answer is yes, and probably both. Some of this stuff was there, and some of it's been intensified. The reasons behind it are a bit complicated, but I'll try to narrow it to this. There's been a change in the adolescent brain and a change in the environment, and the collision of those two things has amplified what we think about as teen angst and turned it, in some cases, into serious pathology.
Matt, here are some things, I'm going to put them up in graph form from your piece, that are down.
Yep.
They include, let's take a look at these. They include the following: whether people have smoked, ever tried vaping, alcohol, unprotected sex, cocaine, watching television. You'd think that's all good that those things are down. Right. Next slide, please. Here are some things that are up, or at least getting worse. They include persistently feeling sad or hopeless, seriously considering suicide, even making a plan, attempting suicide, et cetera, et cetera. One more slide, if I may: smartphone usage. Yeah. What's the connection between these three slides that I've just shown? Yeah.
So, I mean, first of all, I'm so glad you picked those out, because they show it in very plain terms what's going on. And what the smartphone represents is not the smartphone per se. And it's easy to say, oh, the rise of the smartphone and the internet caused this. But here's another way to think about that, Michael. That represents a massive shift in lifestyle. The lifestyle went from outdoors, hanging out at the woodsy, your parents concerned about the kegger, my parents concerned about the kegger, maybe driving recklessly, but congregating, to a lifestyle in which young people are increasingly indoors. They are getting less physical exercise, less in-person experience. They are also sleeping less, and they're interacting with their devices. It doesn't mean the smartphone is the cause. It means the smartphone is an inflection point in a changing lifestyle.